Have you ever sat in a classroom, believing you were completely safe, only to realize someone outside wanted to kill everyone inside? This happened on an ordinary Friday during my 7th period calculus class. Spring break was only hours away, and nobody cared much about school anymore. Our teacher was one of the relaxed ones. Instead of teaching, he had us playing a trivia game online. The room was filled with laughter, random guesses, and the usual end of the week conversations. Then the loudspeaker crackled. Dean's voice came through, but something was wrong. He wasn't calm. He wasn't reading from a script. His voice was trembling. "This is not a drill. Teachers, initiate lockdown immediately." The room went silent for the first time. I saw genuine fear on my teacher's face without saying another word. He locked the classroom door, switched off every light, and motioned for us to hide in the back corner of the room. Within seconds, 20 students were pressed tightly together in complete darkness. No one spoke. No one moved. Only sound was our breathing. Then, power went out. The faint electrical hum that always filled the classroom suddenly disappeared. The silence became unbearable. That's when it hit us. This was real. Minutes crawled by. Then a scream shattered the silence. It echoed through the hallway. It didn't sound human anymore. It was filled with rage, with madness. The screaming grew louder. Closer. Asterisk. Then came the crashing. Someone was smashing the hallway. Lockers one after another. Bang. 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 Every impact echoed through the building like a gunshot. The footsteps kept getting closer. A girl beside me started crying. Another quietly whispered a prayer. I could barely breathe. Then, the footsteps stopped, right outside our classroom. A violent slam hit the door. The entire wall shook. Another slam. Then another. A man screamed from the hallway, "Open the door." Another deafening bang. "I'll kill all of you." My heart stopped. Our teacher raised one shaking finger to his lips, begging us not to make a sound. Nobody even dared to breathe. Every second felt like an hour. I remember staring into the darkness, convinced those were the last moments of my life. Then the pounding stopped. The footsteps slowly continued down the hallway. The screams faded into the distance, but nobody moved. We stayed frozen, listening, waiting for him to come back. Finally, after what felt like forever, the loudspeaker turned on again. The dean explained that a mentally unstable man had forced his way into the school and attacked the woman working at the front office. Staff members believed he might be armed, so the entire school had been placed under lockdown while every hallway and classroom was searched. Eventually, we were told to return to class, but the nightmare wasn't over. Later that night, one of the school janitors reportedly found the same man asleep inside a storage closet near the back of the building. According to rumors, a loaded .44 Magnum revolver was sticking out of his pocket. Before police officers could reach him, he vanished. No one in my class ever found out whether he was arrested. No one ever learned why he chose our school. And every time I hear the words, "This is not a drill," I'm instantly taken back to that dark classroom, listening to someone on the other side of the door, trying to get in. Rainy days always made school feel slower. The gray clouds covered the sky from early morning, and a light drizzle tapped against the classroom windows while our teachers struggled to keep everyone's attention. It was the beginning of October, and the cold weather had finally arrived. Most students were already counting the days until the weekend. Nobody expected that this ordinary school day would become one of the most terrifying memories of our lives. Our middle school had 2 lunch periods. Sixth graders and half of the seventh graders ate first, while the remaining seventh graders and all eighth graders went during second lunch. I was in the second group. When the lunch bell finally rang, hundreds of students poured into the cafeteria. The room instantly became loud with conversations, laughter, trays sliding across tables, and teachers trying to keep everyone under control. The smell of pizza, fries, and chocolate milk filled the air. It looked exactly like every other school lunch. I grabbed my tray and joined the line with three of my closest friends, Eric, Jason, and Noah. Jason was joking about Eric's terrible math grades. "If you fail one more quiz," Jason laughed, "they're going to replace you with a calculator." Eric rolled his eyes. "At least I don't trip over my own backpack every morning." We all laughed. Looking back, that was probably the last time anyone laughed that day. Just as I reached the front of the lunch line, boom! A loud explosion echoed across the campus. The room instantly fell silent. For one brief second, nobody moved. Then another explosion. Boom! Followed by two more. Boom! Boom! Four deafening blasts. At first, I thought it was thunder. The weather outside certainly made that seem possible, but then I noticed something strange. Teachers weren't reacting like it was thunder. Every adult in the cafeteria suddenly looked terrified. One teacher immediately grabbed a radio from his belt. Another rushed toward the cafeteria entrance. Students began looking at one another, confused. "Did you hear that? What was that? Fireworks? No, that sounded different." Then the cafeteria doors slammed open. A campus security officer rushed inside, completely out of breath. His face was pale. His voice was louder than I had ever heard. Everyone into the multi-purpose room. Now nobody moved. We simply stared at him. He yelled again, "Leave everything. Move." Suddenly chaos exploded. Lunch trays crashed onto the floor. Students shoved past each other trying to reach the exits. Milk cartons rolled across the cafeteria tiles. Someone slipped. A younger student started crying. Teachers shouted directions while trying to keep everyone calm. But panic spread faster than they could control it. I nearly dropped my lunch as my friends and I were pushed toward the large multi-purpose room connected to the cafeteria. Within minutes, hundreds of students had packed inside. The room was enormous, but with so many people squeezed together, it suddenly felt much smaller. The air became hot. Everyone talked at once. What happened? Was that gunfire? Did someone get hurt? Is this another drill? No one had an answer, not even the teachers. One thing immediately caught my attention. The back wall of the room was almost entirely made of glass windows overlooking the street. Outside, normally they stayed uncovered. Today, several security officers hurried over and pulled every curtain shut. The outside world disappeared behind thick fabric. Whatever was happening, they didn't want us to see it. Or maybe they didn't want whoever was outside to see us. That thought made my stomach tighten. Teachers positioned themselves beside every exit. No one was allowed to leave. No one was allowed to enter. For the first time in my life, I realized what a real lockdown actually felt like. Minutes passed. Nobody explained anything. The room slowly became quieter. Some students whispered. Others sat on the floor hugging their knees. Several sixth graders cried softly while older students tried comforting them. Every few minutes someone looked toward the covered windows, hoping to catch a glimpse outside. Nothing. Only silence. The kind of silence that lets your imagination create horrors far worse than reality. After about 10 minutes, Eric couldn't take it anymore. "I'm going to find out what's happening," he whispered, before anyone could stop him. He walked toward one of the teachers standing Near an emergency exit. We watched as he quietly asked a question. The teacher looked around first, making sure no younger students were listening. Then, he leaned forward and whispered something into Eric's ear. Immediately, Eric's expression changed. His smile vanished. His face turned pale. He slowly walked back toward us without saying a word. Jason frowned. What did he say? Eric hesitated. Finally, he answered, "There's a man who lives across the street from the school, so he barricaded himself inside his house." Noah looked confused. "What does that have to do with us?" Eric swallowed hard. "The police are trying to evict him, and he threatened to kill any officer who came near the house." None of us spoke. Then Eric quietly added something that made my blood run cold. The teacher said the man was outside earlier this morning, watching students as they arrived at school. Watching students. Not yelling, not attacking, just watching. For some reason, that sounded even more disturbing. I imagined a stranger standing silently in the rain every morning, staring at children as they walked through the school gates. How long had he been doing it? Had anyone noticed before today? Or had he been watching us for weeks? Rumors spread through the room almost immediately. Someone claimed the man had a shotgun. Another student insisted he had already fired at the police. Others whispered that he had explosives hidden inside the house. Every few minutes, the story became more terrifying. Teachers repeatedly told everyone to stay calm and stop spreading rumors. But fear doesn't wait for facts. Fear creates its own monsters. Outside, distant sirens echoed through the rain. No one knew whether they were getting closer or farther away. Every sound made us jump. Every passing minute felt longer than the last. And none of us realized the truth was far more disturbing than any rumor being whispered inside that room. The room had become almost completely silent. Hundreds of students sat shoulder to shoulder. Yet the only sounds were nervous whispers and the rain tapping against the roof above us. Every few minutes, another police siren echoed somewhere outside. Each one sounded closer than the last. Nobody knew whether the danger was getting worse or whether help was finally arriving. I kept staring at the closed curtains covering the glass wall. Part of me wanted to pull them open and see what was happening. The other part hoped they would never open. Again. A teacher slowly walked through the room, forcing a smile. "Everything is under control," she said. But nobody believed her. If everything was under control, why were we still locked inside? Why were police cars still arriving? And why did every teacher look more frightened than the students? Minutes slowly turned into nearly an hour. Time had completely lost its meaning. Some students tried distracting themselves by talking quietly. Others simply stared at the floor. A few younger kids had cried themselves to sleep against the wall. Then, one of the office staff entered the room. She whispered something to the principal. The principal's expression immediately changed. His shoulders became tense. Without saying a word, he hurried back outside. Everyone noticed. Everyone knew something wasn't right. The rumors started again. They found weapons. No. Someone was shot. The police are negotiating. They're evacuating nearby houses. Nobody knew what was true anymore. Fear had taken over the room. I looked over at Eric. He wasn't joking anymore. Jason wasn't smiling. Even Noah, who almost never showed emotion, looked genuinely terrified. For the first time since we'd met, none of us had anything to say. Eventually, another teacher came over and quietly explained what the school had been told. The man living directly across the street had refused to leave his home after receiving an eviction. Noticed that when police officers arrived, he barricaded every entrance. He shouted that anyone who came near his house would die. Officers believed he might have access to weapons. As they secured the neighborhood, witnesses reported seeing the man pacing around outside earlier that morning, watching children arrive at school. That single sentence sent chills through the room. Watching children. How many mornings had he stood there? How many students had unknowingly walked past him? Had he been choosing someone? Had he planned something worse? Those questions stayed trapped inside my head. No one wanted to say them out loud. Outside, rain continued falling. The sky grew even darker. The flashing blue and red lights from police vehicles leaked through tiny openings in the curtains, casting strange colors across the walls. Every flash reminded us that the nightmare was still unfolding. Finally, after what felt like forever, the loudspeaker crackled. The principal's voice came through. His tone was much calmer. "Now, students and staff, thank you for your patience. The situation has been contained. Please remain where you are. Teachers will escort each class back to their classrooms, one at a time." A wave of relief spread through the room. Some students actually applauded, others hugged each other. I remember taking my first deep breath in nearly an hour. Maybe it was finally over. Or so we thought. One classroom at a time. Teachers led students back through the hallways. Police officers stood outside every major entrance. Several patrol cars lined the street. I caught a quick glimpse through one of the windows. Yellow police tape surrounded a house directly across from the school. Officers were everywhere, even from a tofa distance. The place felt wrong. No one spoke as we walked back to class. The entire school had changed. The loud, energetic atmosphere from lunchtime had disappeared. Everything felt strangely empty. Later that afternoon, my friend Brandy told me something that made the entire incident even more disturbing. She lived only a few houses away from the man. According to her, the neighborhood had always considered him strange. He rarely spoke to anyone. His blinds stayed closed almost all the time. Children were told not to walk near his property, but there was one memory she would never forget. The previous Halloween, she and her friends were walking through the neighborhood collecting candy. When they reached his house, they noticed him standing perfectly still behind an upstairs window. At first they laughed. They assumed he was trying to scare trick-or-treaters. Then they looked closer. His arm was covered in blood, using his own blood. He had written a message across the inside of the window. "Don't come here, or I'll kill you." Everyone thought it was a sick Halloween decoration. They laughed. They walked away. Now, after everything that had happened, they realized it hadn't been fake. It hadn't been prank. It had been a warning. A real one. Police eventually took the man into custody later that day after a lengthy standoff. Fortunately, no students were harmed. No officers lost their lives. But that doesn't mean the fear disappeared. For weeks afterward, every unexpected noise inside the school made students freeze. Every lockdown drill felt real. Every police siren brought back memories of that rainy October afternoon. Even today, whenever I hear heavy rain hitting a school window, I remember sitting inside that crowded room, wondering whether a man across the street was about to turn our ordinary school day into a tragedy that would make national headlines. Thankfully, he never got the chance, but knowing how close we came is terrifying enough. I always believed schools were some of the safest places you could be. That belief disappeared forever on an ordinary afternoon. At 22 years old, I had recently graduated from college and was lucky enough to get a job at my old high school. I worked as a computer technician, helping maintain the school's servers and repairing classroom computers. It wasn't the most exciting job, but I enjoyed it. I knew the building better than almost anyone. And seeing my former teachers every day made the place feel like a second home. Most of my work took place in the basement. Unlike the bright classrooms upstairs, the basement felt like a completely different world. It was quiet, poorly lit, and filled with old storage rooms, electrical panels, broken desks, and rows of humming servers. There was only one small office where my two co-workers, Dave and Gary, and I spent most of our time. It was surprisingly comfortable. 3 desks, 2 mini fridges. A television mounted on the wall, and, best of all, powerful air conditioning that made the basement the coolest place in the entire school. That afternoon I was alone. Dave and Gary had gone upstairs to help teachers install new software, leaving me behind to organize equipment and eat lunch. I had just opened my sandwich when my phone rang. The caller ID showed the front office. I answered immediately. The secretary sounded nervous. "Lock the office if you can. The school has just gone into lockdown." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "We think there's an armed person inside the building." Before I could ask anything else, she hung up. I stood there frozen. Office didn't even have a real door. It was simply an open entrance connected to the basement hallway. Even worse, the main basement entrance had an old lock that barely worked. If someone came downstairs, there would be nowhere to hide. I switched off every light. Then I turned off my computer monitor. Within seconds, the office was swallowed by darkness. The only light came from tiny blinking LEDs on the server racks. The room suddenly felt much colder. I sat beneath my desk, with my phone clutched tightly in my hand. I texted, "Dave, where are you?" No reply. I texted Gary, "Are you okay?" Nothing. Every minute felt longer than the last. From the basement, I couldn't hear anything happening upstairs. No shouting. No alarms. No footsteps. Only silence. Kind of silence that slowly convinces you something terrible is about to happen. 20 minutes passed. Maybe 30. I had completely lost track of time. Then I heard it. The heavy basement doors slowly creaked open. The sound echoed through the concrete hallway. Someone had come downstairs. My heart immediately began pounding. Hoped it was Dave. Maybe Gary. Maybe a police officer. The footsteps started moving toward my office. Slow. Steady. Getting closer. I wanted to call out, but something stopped. Instinct. Instead, I crawled farther underneath my desk and held my breath. The footsteps entered the office. Whoever it was didn't turn on the lights. That made my fear even worse. If it had been one of my co-workers, they would have switched the lights on immediately. Instead, the person simply stood there, doing nothing. Listening. The silence lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like an hour. I could hear my own heartbeat. I was terrified the stranger could hear it. 2. Then, disaster struck. Ding. My phone lit up beneath the desk. A text message. Tiny glow illuminated my face. I immediately covered the screen with my hand. But it was too late. The footsteps suddenly started moving toward me. 1 step. Then, another. Closer. I was convinced I was about to die. Unable to take the pressure any longer, I burst out from beneath the desk with my hands raised. "Please, don't shoot." A hand grabbed my arm. I flinched. The man quickly whispered, Relax, I'm hiding too." He looked to be in his 40s. He wore blue jeans, a red plaid shirt, and a dark baseball cap. His breathing was Heavy, he looked frightened. "I came to pick up my son," he whispered. "The teacher told me to hide." For a moment, I believed him. He seemed completely normal. We stood there quietly listening for sounds from upstairs. Finally I whispered, "Do you know what's happening?" Instead of answering, he asked me something strange. "Is there another way out of this basement?" I pointed toward the emergency exit at the far end of the hallway. He nodded. Then I asked the question that changed everything. "Who are you?" He smiled slightly. "I'm just a parent." At that exact moment, my phone vibrated again. Another message from Dave. I glanced down. "This is insane. Someone shot Mr. Buckley. The shooter is wearing a red shirt and a baseball cap. Whatever you do, don't trust anyone. Stay hidden." Every drop of blood drained from my face. Slowly, I looked up. The man standing only a few feet away was wearing a red plaid shirt, a baseball cap, exactly as Dave had described. The stranger noticed the fear in my eyes. For one long second, neither of us moved. Then his expression changed. The friendly smile disappeared. Without thinking, I turned and sprinted toward the basement stairs. Behind me, I heard him shout. Then gunshot exploded through the darkness. The deafening blast echoed off the concrete walls. Something metallic beside me sparked as the bullet ricocheted. I didn't stop running. I didn't look back. I reached the basement exit and burst through the door. Police officers were already waiting outside with their weapons drawn. The man followed only seconds later. Before he could react, officers tackled him to the ground. Within moments, it was over. Later we learned that he had entered the school looking for teacher named Mr. Buckley after a personal dispute. Miraculously, Mr. Buckley survived the shooting. No one ever publicly revealed what the argument had been about. Maybe some secrets are better left buried. But one thing has never left me, even today. Whenever I hear footsteps in an empty hallway or my phone suddenly lights up in a dark room, I'm transported back to that basement, back to that moment. The moment I realized the man standing beside me wasn't another victim. He was the one everyone was hiding from.